Today on Redesigning Life, we have a very special guest, Brad Yates. A lot of people might know him as Tap with Brad on YouTube. You have about 300,000 subscribers at this point, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And Brad, you've been doing this 15 years. How many years have you been on just doing it on YouTube?
So on YouTube, it's about about 15 years that I've been doing this.
So you don't even know how I know you, but I was working with a therapist many years ago, and I was dealing with someone in my life that was a narcissist. And one of the therapies that she recommended that we do in between sessions was tapping. And she introduced me to you years ago. And I couldn't believe the amount of like your catalog of how many amazing different tapping videos that you had no matter what. It was like, it ran the gamut. Like, you want to feel good about yourself? Great. Physical well-being, I got you covered. Dealing with, you want money coming into your life? I got you. We could tap about anything. So I love that you have been doing this for so many years and that you make it so accessible for people. But I think there's a lot of people who don't even know what tapping is. So can we start from the beginning? Can you explain for people who have no idea what we're talking about and think we're talking about some dance routine, what is tapping?
So tapping, we call it tapping because we are quite literally tapping with our fingertips on our face and our torso. And for anyone who's new to this, I get it. It probably sounds like, what is Sabrina bringing on her show? But there's a really good reason why we do this. So it's based on acupuncture originally. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they've said there's a flow of energy through the body along these pathways that are called meridians that run up and down the body. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being. And when it's not flowing, when it gets stuck or disrupted in some way, we don't feel so good. We don't think as clearly. We don't make the best choices. And that has all kinds of unfortunate consequences for us. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the doctor would stick needles in these key points around the body. And we're just using our fingertips to stimulate those same points. And we've known for a long time that it's very beneficial, but we also have a growing body of scientific research validating the fact that it's a profound way of reducing stress. So when you consider
It
that most,
works.
not, yeah, it works. And most of, if not all of the issues that trouble us physically and emotionally are caused by or worsened by stress. So having a simple tool for downregulating stress can be so beneficial in all of these different areas of our lives.
It is so everyone who's listening, they've probably been listening for a while. They know that I've tried everything, and I am that girl next door that has tried every healing modality there is known to man. I even paid $121 for a shaman to hit me with a basil of a bush of basil in a garage in San Bernardino. That didn't work, but I do tell people what does work, and tapping works, and it's almost a I almost want to kick myself because I don't use it as much as I should, but I still, even though you're explaining that it's sort of like an acupressure that we're
Yeah.
using, how does that work with what's the connection between those pressure points and your nervous system?
Yeah. So, and now we have a lot of theories. We don't have the exact mechanics down. We have a lot of theories about how it works. So, again, the original idea that it works on the meridian systems that they've used in acupuncture for thousands of years. Uh, there is a phenomenon called piezoelectricity, where applying pressure on certain points sends a biochemical signal to the brain to calm it down. Uh, they're looking at how it affects the vagus nerve. So this nerve that runs from the base of the brain down the spinal the spine and connects with all these different organs, and how that regulates emotion, and looking at how this pressure on these different points sends that common signal to all of those different points. So the exact mechanics, it could be all of that, it could be one or two of that, but we do have the evidence showing, okay, but it is causing this downregulation of stress.
And I've noticed, and I think I wonder if I'm doing it right or wrong. If are there certain, the karate chop or underneath your eye is are there certain parts of your body that are connected to certain emotions or certain parts of your nervous system?
So in traditional acupuncture, the different meridians, so each of these points that we're tapping are key points on different meridians. And the meridians are traditionally associated with different organs of the body, which are traditionally associated with different emotions. So, for instance, this point right here at the beginning of your eyebrow is associated with the bladder, which is associated with sadness. Side of the eye, gallbladder, associated with anger. Under the eye, stomach, fear. So, there are times where I might do a tapping around and I'll focus on a particular point for a particular emotion. And when this tapping process was first developed by a psychologist named Roger Callahan, he would he took a couple of different points for different emotions. So if somebody was experiencing anxiety, he might tap three different points in a particular sequence. If they were experiencing anger, he would pick some different points in a different sequence. And then one of his first students was a gentleman named Gary Craig, and Gary had his degree in engineering from Stanford. And thinking like an engineer, he thought, okay, how do we simplify this and just go through these 8 points and just go top to bottom and not worry about what sequence and which points to tap. So, and sometimes we'll leave a point out, and sometimes you might find yourself just wanting to tap on one particular point, even though it may not be the emotion that's associated with it. So there was a time when I was feeling some anxiety and thinking, oh, it's fear. I should probably tap under the eye, but I just felt no. I just feel drawn to tapping the side of the eye right now. So you can trust your gut. So yes, these different points are generally associated with different emotions, but the great thing about emotional freedom techniques, EFT, which is the process that Gary developed out of thought field therapy, was let's just tap all the different points and not worry about making sure we get the right one. We'll just cover all of them.
And is there room for error when you're doing tapping? Because sometimes then I get confused. Am I supposed to use two fingers, three fingers? Am I doing it wrong? So, is it flexible in that way?
EFT is a very forgiving process. And you know, the great thing is because we're using a couple of different fingers, some people use three, some will use four. On certain points, I might use more points, more uh, fingers, generally just using two. But still, we're covering a much larger area than an acupuncture needle. So we don't have to be quite as precise. And just being in that general area. Now, they have done studies with what are called sham points and finding that, yes, there are these points that we're tapping on are actual areas on the body. It's not just, oh, we're just randomly tapping any place and it doesn't matter. But because of the percussive nature of the tapping, we don't have to be as precise as acupuncture. And the healing is coming from our intention as well as the actual points. You can come from a spiritual standpoint of the healing coming from source, universe, God, and source is not going to say, I'm sorry, Sabrina, you missed a point, no healing for you.
Are
So
you sure?
you
Because
really
sometimes
can't get it wrong.
yeah, you're right. But I do wonder that, and I wonder if it, how if the amount of fingers matter, of the exact position matters. But I'm glad to hear that there is room for error.
Yeah. There is
Also,
beneficial and there is different layers of more effective. But any tapping that we do is beneficial in calming down the nervous system, even if it's just really subtle. We may not consciously be aware of it, but we have these studies with the biological markers showing cortisol levels dropping. That's a stress hormone, and fMRI studies showing the brain activity is changing. So even if someone says, I'm tapping, but I don't feel any difference, like, okay, you may not be consciously aware of the difference, but
yeah,
there are things going on inside the body.
to prep for this phone call, I was reading some of the scientific studies behind tapping, and I was shocked to see how just a simple session of tapping did improve everyone's mental health and how they felt and all of their levels substantially up to 40+%. So
Right.
that's why if anyone's listening, there is no cost to watch Brad's YouTube channel. He has tapping for anything. I'm pretty sure. Just in the search, put tap with Brad, and then whatever your problem is, and
Right.
something will pop up. But you
Whatever
have nothing
keyword.
to lose. Yeah, I feel like you have absolutely nothing to lose. And I think a lot of people, especially listeners, they always send me messages saying, because I always talk about how much meditation has changed my life, how they just can't figure it out. They cannot sit still. And I almost feel like tapping is perfect for the person who can't meditate or can't sit still, because you're active in this
Right.
sort of, and it's not a meditation, but it is sort of a meditation in that sense. Would you agree?
Yeah, and actually, I have colleagues who will refer to it. While I'll say I'm going to do a tapping round, they'll say I'm going to do a tapping meditation because they're both mindfulness practices that help to calm down and think more clearly. But it doesn't take that same level of concentration. So there's all kinds of great things you can do for stress, like meditating, getting a good night's sleep, eating a healthy diet. But in the moment that something stressful has happened, someone's just cut you off, or you've just had an argument with your boss or whatever, to say, all right, I'm gonna go sit down and meditate right now, or I'm gonna go eat a good meal or get a good night's sleep. You can't, it's very difficult to do those things. So yeah, it's
Yes.
great that we get that calming sensation without having to calm ourselves down first.
It's, I think that it's pretty common when you're going through a really stressful time where you feel like you're on the verge of a panic or an anxiety attack. It's hard for you to go, okay, yeah, I'm going to go meditate or I'm going to take a walk because you feel overwhelmed. And I
Yeah.
do feel that tapping is something that almost gives immediate relief to you when those overwhelming feelings start to get into your body. And just last week, I was having a really stressful day, and tapping saved me because I just felt like I couldn't breathe. I was losing my patience, and it just took a minute of tapping, and I just calmed down levels. And I'm not talking about it was a simple little shift. It was a drastic shift of how I felt, and then I was able to almost reset my nervous system again. Have you found that to be common in the people that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a moment like that. The first time I got on an airplane post 9/11, walked back to our seats, and I froze. I could not sit down. My body would not bend. And I'm standing there. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? And I was like, well, you could tap. Oh, yes, there's a thought.
Right.
But in that moment, I wasn't thinking clearly. But finally, the thought came. It's like, duh, tap. And it's like, okay. Now, I'm not going to say that I had the time of my life on that flight, but seriously, I could not move, and I was able to calm down enough, and it was not
To
a
sit
horrific,
down.
yeah, to be able to sit
Yeah.
down and calm down. I have seen this with multiple folks who, at that moment, it's like I don't know what to do. I feel so overwhelmed. I feel so stressed, and that's when folks will worry about, am I doing EFT right? Am I saying the right words? Don't even worry about the words. The words are designed to help you tune into the issue. But in that moment of stress and overwhelm and panic, you don't need words. Your body's like, no, we've got it. We already know what's going on here. We just need
Yeah.
this calming signal to be sent to the brain.
Speaking of words, I have also noticed that affirmations are different. It's I'm Sabrina and I deserve love and I am a money magnet. But I feel like during tapping, it's almost like a ultra honest view of what's going on in your life affirmation. It's not necessarily this I am the best. It's even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, like you state the problem. What's the science behind that? What's the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, and it throws off a lot of people at first when I'll say, "Hey, let's tap." So even though I think I'm really bad with money, they'll say, "Oh, no, 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 no. We don't talk about the negative. It's
Right.
all positive thinking." But what you resist persists. If your dog poops on your carpet in your living room, you don't say, "I'm just going to look at where the carpet is clean," because you know what? You're going to step in it. You're going to
That's
spread it
right.
around,
That's right. That's
and
right.
you're kidding yourself because part of your brain is sitting there. It's very much focused on what's there. So it's like, all right, even though I have this upset, even though I'm so angry at this person, even though I'm feeling sad, whatever it might be, and then we can process that emotion. So rather than just trying to, stuff it under the rug or whatever, we're giving ourselves permission to actually look at it. And the
Yes.
problem is that so many times with uncomfortable emotions, it's painful to look at it. I don't want to talk, but
That's
I
right.
want to talk about the affirmation. I want to just focus on the positive. But again, we're just leaving that stuff there. And the tapping calms us down enough to be able to say, all right, I can handle looking at this. Oh, look,
Yes.
there is dog poop on my carpet. Okay, but I'm not
Right.
freaking out. Okay, I can handle this. What do I do? Well, get something to clean it up. Okay, now I can address this and not just try to pretend it's not there. And it gives us that freedom to look at those things that we otherwise feel that we couldn't handle.
And I think that there's something powerful with saying the things that you're struggling with out loud, because I do believe that shame grows in the dark. And
Absolutely.
even the vocalizing of it, even if no one's around, there's something powerful in releasing it out into the universe so that you can then move forward from it.
Yeah. And that's why we start with the setup statement of, even though I have this, I choose to love and accept myself. Because so often
Yes.
it's like, no, I have shame or I have anger or I have this and I'm a bad person and I need to keep it in the dark. And it's like, no, even though I have this, I choose to love and accept myself and just admit that it's there, and now I can process it. But I can't process what I don't address or I don't acknowledge.
Being that you have so many different uh, tapping sessions for people, no matter if they're dealing with money or love or stress, careers, where do you think the categories that's it's the most powerful in, that you've seen the most transformation? Is there one category of life where it works best in?
Probably the biggest issue that I see that comes up for folks is the feeling of I'm not good enough, these unworthiness issues. So several years ago, it hit me. It's like, oh God, my real job is just to teach people to love themselves, and clearing
That's an
out this.
amazing job, Brad.
It is the best job in the world, Sabrina.
It is.
I am an extremely fortunate person. So I have, you can see I've got Michelangelo's David back there on the wall. I have David's everywhere. So Michelangelo said the statue is already there, perfect inside the marble. All I have to do is chip away what doesn't belong to reveal the masterpiece inside. And to me, that's a perfect metaphor for what we're doing with the tapping. The part of us that knows that we're awesome is already there inside, but it's covered up under this excess marble, this shame, guilt, unworthiness, fear. And so the tapping is just chipping away what doesn't belong, and we start to go, oh, you know what? I am kind of awesome. Actually, I'm really awesome. I'm a gift to this world. And that's why I do it, because the world could use all of these people sharing their gifts.
Yeah.
So let's clear out the stuff that stops you from sharing that. That's why I love tapping on money, because it's not that I'm one of these prosperity gospel kind of folks. It's like everybody should be rich. You should all have lots of money. I'm not worried about that. I don't care if you have a private jet or not. What I care about is that if we have blocks against money, if we say that money is bad, it's the root of all evil, or whatever nonsense we might have in our mind, and I'm thinking, and if I share my gifts with the world, I'm going to get paid, and I'm not allowed to get paid, so I better not share my gifts. That's what I won't stand for. So my
Right.
whole thing about tapping on money is, I want you to be so comfortable with money that you're okay with being rich if that's what happens, just as long as you're out there making the positive difference in the world that you can make.
I love that. So, for a personal question for you, have the tapping king himself obviously used tapping? Has anybody ever called you that?
I think once before someone might have.
Okay. You should probably get that tappingking.com. For you, what other modalities do you use to alleviate stress and to live your best life?
Well, I started out as a hypnotherapist. Well, I started as an actor, and then I became a hypnotherapist, and then I got into tapping. So I still do guided imageries, and still do a little bit of meditation myself each morning, and exercise, long walks. So taking care of body, mind, and spirit in all kinds of different ways.
And how many minutes do you think, for somebody who's never heard of EFT before, how many minutes would you say you should dedicate a day to start tapping?
Oh, that's a tough one. It depends on what you're going through. It's like with washing your hands. How long should you wash your hands? Well, I know during the pandemic, you said 20
Happy
seconds.
birthday.
Happy
You have to
birthday.
sing happy birthday, Brad.
Yeah. But if you've been baking bread and you have some flour on your hands and you need to wash your hands, it might not take very long. If you've been working on your car and you've got grease on your hands, 20 seconds ain't gonna do it.
Right.
So, but any bit that you do is gonna be beneficial. If you only have a minute to tap through and just tap through one round, even that is going to be beneficial. Ideally, if you can do longer, again, just like washing your hands. How long should you wash your hands? Well, until it feels clean. So, but with some of the stuff that we've got going on, we may not be able to do it in the time that we have. But anything that we can do is beneficial.
Okay. So even if you only have an hour, then that would be fine.
An hour would
I
be,
mean, an hour. No, no, I'm sorry. I meant a
yeah,
minute. You're like an hour. Even if
that
you
would be
only have a
awesome.
minute, it'd
If
be fine.
everyone's tapping for an hour a day, what a difference this world would make. Because I know that when I'm tapping, like if I'm on a long drive, I'll tap during the drive. I'll listen to different tapping rounds so that I'm not thinking about it. And I just feel awesome because it's just, I'm clearing the ambient stress that's there. Because we're all walking around, especially because we're all walking around with one of these things that's constantly
I
telling us,
know.
here's something else to be upset about. So we have
Yes.
layers of stress that we're not aware of. And so any tapping, so, and you may not notice the difference. Sometimes when we can just tap for a moment and it's like, oh my goodness, and profound shift. Sometimes it doesn't feel like much and we'll say it didn't work, but it's like taking vitamins. Nobody has ever taken a vitamin and suddenly thought, wow, I just feel so energized right now. But we
Right,
have the
right.
research showing that it's beneficial. Same with
Yes.
tapping. We have the research showing that anything you do is beneficial. The added benefit of tapping over, say, vitamins is that there are times where you definitely notice it and you definitely feel tangibly better.
Yeah, for me last week, absolutely. I felt it instantaneous. Like it was an instant um, stress relief, as if, and it wasn't anything that I was using outside of myself to numb. I was just calming my nervous system internally. And, I do notice that at times when I'm stressed, it's almost, have you ever noticed any clients do start tapping out and not doing it on purpose, but tapping their legs or tapping themselves just to calm themselves down? Is that something that happens without one of your clients knowing?
I- I've seen this with people who have never heard of EFT because it's in our system. Our bodies are designed this way. We're just late to the game to figure out. Oh, hey, did you know it's like a cell phone that you find out. Hey, did you know that it had this app? Did you know it's like
Right.
we're just kind of figuring. It's like, did you know that you had this thing where you could actually just tap these points? But people, you'll see things like, oh my goodness, or just rubbing their temples or so. It's like, yeah, you're just doing acupressure. You just didn't know it.
Right. So can you walk us through a cycle and be able to describe it, because there's some people who are just listening and not watching?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we generally start with is recognizing what might be going on for us. Like I feel stressed out. Um, but we can also do it with affirmations. You can say that because what will happen is when you say, you know, I'm financially abundant, then part of us is going to say, might say, no, you're kidding yourself. And so that stress is coming up in the body anyway. So that's what we want to do with the words is bring up that stress. So taking the index and middle finger of your dominant hand, just gently tap on the edge of your opposite hand, right between your wrist and your pinky. And we'll say, so we'll just use stress, for example. Even though I feel this stress, I choose to love and accept myself. And we'd say that 3 times. That's just setting us up, just saying, hey, I recognize that I have this issue and I choose to be okay with that. Then we're going to tap right here at the beginning of your eyebrow. So right near the center of your face, on either side, and just gently tapping each of these points, generally between 5 and 10 times. But again, you're not going to get it wrong. Don't count going, okay, I need to get exactly between 5 and 10 times. Oh, 11 times. Now it won't work. Now I'm going to have all
You
the
know
stress.
me so well. I'm already thinking, I think I'm doing this wrong.
But it's brilliant, Sabrina. I always say self-sabotage is misguided self-love. And it's brilliant because we find ways to, if I'm afraid of change, and this is why I love tapping, because tapping clears the fear of change so that we can make the positive changes. If I'm afraid of change, I'm going to look for ways to stop myself. Oh, you know what? I better not do tapping if I can't do it right. Oh, I guess I won't tap today. And so that's a way
Yes.
that we get to stay safely in our comfort zone.
Yes.
Brilliant. Knock it off.
Why do we you're right. I thank you for bringing that up. This is not, I realize that I've been doing that in my life lately. I'm walking towards a goal, I'm getting close to it, and then I'll do something really silly just take a sharp left.
I did a video recently called "Are You Still a Verger?" And I said, because you're on the verge of a goal,
Hurt.
and then you hold yourself back.
Yeah.
So that's things because the extent to which we don't have what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it. And we just want to be compassionate with ourselves. Because what happens then is we go, oh, I didn't tap again, or I didn't exercise, or I didn't do this. We beat ourselves up, which is
Right.
brilliant because I'm not exercising or tapping or whatever because something inside of me says it's not safe to move to the next level. It's not safe for me to lose weight. It's not safe for me to have more money. It's not safe for me to be more seen, whatever it might be. And so I will find all kinds of brilliant ways to stop myself and go, oh, I don't have the time. Oh, I this and that. I'll find distractions. I, I want to make sure I do it right, and I better not use this technique if I'm not going to do it perfectly.
Yeah.
And then we'll go, oh, and I should have done that, and we should all over ourselves. And it's like, okay, just be compassionate and just go, oh, I see. I'm just being resistant. There's a
That's
part of
right.
me that's afraid of doing this, and then we say, even though I have this resistance, I choose to love and accept myself. And then go through these different points, right? The beginning of the eyebrow, all this resistance. Right at the corner of the eye, all this resistance. Under the middle of your eye, all this resistance. Right under your nose, all this resistance. Just below your lower lip, just above the chin, all this resistance. Now, right where your collarbones just about come together, there's a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. And with all of your fingertips, or even maybe make a fist tapping there, all this resistance. Now, with all your fingertips about 4 inches below your armpit, it's right about bra strap level, and I'm sure even the guys listening can figure out where that is. All
Hey,
this
some of the guys might
resistance.
be wearing bras themselves.
And that's okay. Even though I'm a
And
guy
that's
wearing a bra,
okay.
I choose to love and accept myself. And then finally, with all of your fingertips tapping around the crown of your head, all this resistance or stress or whatever it might be. And then you take a deep breath. And so I forgot to mention at the very beginning, with the stress or the resistance or whatever it might be, we want to check in and rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. So, okay, how stressed am I? Oh, it's about an 8. How do I know? Oh, well, my shoulders are really tense. Okay, great. Now I go through, even though I have the stress, all the stress, all the stress, tapping through the points. Then I check again, and it might go from an 8 to a 0 like that. Sometimes happens. It may go from an 8 to a 7.75. But if you've been in an 8 where you're stressed for a while, 7.75 is going to be some welcome relief. And
Yes.
it's also like peeling the layers of the onion so that as we're tapping through, it feels safer to have more clarity. So we might say, oh, the stress, all this, oh, I know exactly what I'm stressed out about. Or if I'm tapping on, even though I'm so angry at Bob, this anger at Bob, this anger at Bob. Oh, wait, it's not even Bob. It's Cindy in the 3rd grade. She really upset me. And what Bob
Yes.
did reminded me of that. And now I can clear this anger at Cindy that I've been holding on to for decades and get it out of my body.
Yes. Just to bring up last week and you helping me with you not even knowing that you were helping me, I realized what thought I was upset about wasn't what
Yeah,
I was upset about. It was something completely subconscious that I was holding on to. So you're right, that does happen. It's
that's
this
the one of the
clarity that you
brilliant.
get.
Yeah, it's one of those brilliant things again. If I am, if I'm still holding on to this anger at Cindy, but it's keeping me in what I believe is my comfort zone, it's keeping me safe, I'm going to convince myself the anger's at Bob. I'm going to
Yeah.
stop myself from knowing what's about, and I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm just going to be upset about it. I'm not staying upset without looking at what's really there because this keeps me safely in what is familiar. Even
Right.
if our lives are
Right.
crap, it's our crap. We know where it goes. We dealt with it yesterday, so we're pretty sure we can handle it today. But getting rid of that crap and having the freedom to change and see something different and have to deal with new circumstances, like more money, ah,
Wow.
no, thank you.
But the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's not a way of living. We want to be the opposite of that.
Please and thank you. Please, that's the whole thing, is allowing yourself the freedom to live at a higher level, because then you're sharing your gifts and talents at a higher level.
And that's why it's
And
called emotional freedom technique, to free
absolutely.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's the freedom to make better choices.
Yes. No
Once
matter
when
what
we
those
clear that
are in your
stress,
life.
yeah. When we clear that stress, we have more freedom to make different choices and make things better in our lives, which makes things better for other people.
Thank you so much for your time. Wait, before you leave, for people who are listening, obviously it's Tap with Brad on YouTube. How else can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, thank you, Sabrina. The simplest thing is tapwithbrad.com. You can go there. You can get a free 5-day program called Success Beyond Belief. Go and check that out, and you'll find all the links to all my other resources there.
And I obviously, for everyone listening, I will have all of the information, Brad's YouTube, Brad's website, and your Instagram on the show notes. So you could just click through there.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much, Brad. I'll see you probably tonight on YouTube. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.